Center. Medicine on a mission.
Welcome back inside TD Arena in Charleston. Delaware and the College of Charleston wrapping up the regular season here this afternoon as we check the starting lineup. First of all, for the Blue Hens. Blue Hens come in at 21-9, 13-2 in conference play. And all five of these starters average in double figures. And you look at Jarvis Threet, just finished up an 8-game suspension. He returned and knocked down 24 points and 6 assists, Coach. And for the Cougars of the College of Charleston, it's senior day, so Anthony Stitt, the junior out of Charlotte, North Carolina, is the only junior in the starting lineup, joining the four seniors, Nori Johnson, Anthony Thomas, Willis Hall, and his brother Judson Hall gets the start.
Well, it's interesting. You've got a real small team and one that is vulnerable inside and on the glass. And then you've got another team that's big and pretty experienced. And so it's really a contrast in styles. That sheet, you go, how did they lose? You know, they shoot 57%, they're plus 21. But when you turn it over 26 times, you know, that's pretty eye-opening in a 60-some point game.
Thomas and Baptiste in the circle, and the tip is controlled by the Blue Hens of Delaware, the number one team in the CAA. This is a Threet with a basketball.
Well, as you notice, if you're looking on TV, you've got four smaller players. So it's really a four-guard offense. They're kind of wrapped around Baptiste, and every one of them is a different type of player to defend.
Usher pulls the trigger from outside. He's coming off that 42-point game in the last meeting, and the rebound is finally pulled down by the Cougars and Judson Hall.
I think this, Judson, he's getting his money's worth out of this start. You know, he's going to stat sheet up here early. This crowd's going to be a factor here today. You know, these people are excited about it. A lot of pride in this area. Before the game, John Kress, Bobby Cremens, and some of the guys were around. They had a Legends game. So,
outside shot goes, and guess who? It's Judson Hall.
He should have played in the Legends game.
Hall rings up a three, and Anderson misfires on his first three-point attempt, and the Cougars with a chance to take a 5-0 lead right now. 6 if they hit another three. Doesn't go off the window, and Baptiste pulls down the rebound. He's been the workhorse for the Blue Hens.
Well, the game's going at a pretty good pace right now. We'll see how fast this keeps up. I'm sure that Doug Wojcik really likes the way the game started. Now, the tough luck for the Blue Hens, they've had 2 3-pointers ring out. And so, you know, there's a little bit of dumb luck in this game where the ball kind of goes in, kind of doesn't.
Is that what it is, luck? Stitt pulls the trigger outside, doesn't go, and this one's goes out of bounds. It goes back to Delaware.
It's like golfing sometimes when the ball keeps ringing out on you, limping out. And, you know, they'll solve and make some as time goes along, but it's been a good start for College of Charleston.
Monte Ross, last 3 years, 18, 19 wins, now 21, looking for 22. If he gets it, he'll be the regular season champion. It'll be the first at that school since the 98-99 season when they played in the America East.
Well, since they've come to the CAA, there's been a lot of adjustment. And then now you look at Charleston going through a lot of adjustment as they enter a new conference.
Oh, spin by three, cuts through the defense and kisses it off the window.
He is as good a penetrator as there is in the country. Now, Jarvis can really guard, and he can really get to the paint.
You know, Coach, at the top of the broadcast, you talked about Sadler and Usher both averaging around 20 points a game. Then you throw in Threet at 18 points, 5 assists. I mean, who do you buckle down on?
Well, at first blush, you're trying to figure out how it works chemistry-wise. You're wondering, is there enough balls for these guys to share and cut up like a piece of the pie? But they seem to get it done.
Doesn't go for Thomas again, and this one's brought down by Usher this time. Anderson, he's their marksman from outside. He's got 76 threes, and he has his pocket picked.
And that got to pick a pocket or two. Boy, that was a pick. Now, the thing you notice here is they isolated Willis Hall on the block, and technically he would not be a power forward type guy. He's kind of a hybrid 3-4 forward, and so they run a pretty big lineup out there at you. There's a real disparity in size in this game. Not in speed. That sways the other direction.
Doug Wojcik, the all-time leader in assists for the CAA during his time at the Naval Academy, now assisting the program, making that transition from the Southern Conference into the CAA.
He had to be praying for the Admiral every night he went to bed. Him and the guy that fixes his TV, boy.
Sadler dishes off. Baptiste kisses it off the window. Doesn't go. And a brand new 35 for the Blue Hens, but Sadler says, don't need it.
Well, they've had 2 or 3 ring out. Sooner or later, they were going to hit the bullseye.
Sadler leads the league in overall games. Usher leads the league in scoring in conference games. This one high out the window by Ajay Baru. His first touch gets the bucket.
Well, Baru came with a highly touted recruit. Really raised some eyebrows when he came to Charleston, and he's got lots of potential.
Usher, back-to-back threes now by the backcourt as Usher knocks down his 73rd this year.
That's entertainment, man. This thing started with a bang.
Delaware coming in averaging just under 79 points a game. The College of Charleston, the #1 defensive team, giving up only 61. Deep in the corner pocket. Usher comes down.
It really is a clash of styles, but I think it's a misnomer. Charleston will play with you. They just out-rebound you, and they run their half-court stuff, and typically they guard you. But now that transition, we were at practice yesterday, and they were really working on the transition defense. It wasn't very good that time.
And again on the baseline, it's Baru. So he has back-to-back buckets for the Cougars, and we have a 10-7 ball game.
Kudos to Baru. I wouldn't say that his strength of his game compared to Duncan running and finishing was his post play, but he's made 2 really nice post moves.
Only a junior, too. Sadler comes back, and he's feeling it early.
One of the things you see in the eyes of the Blue Hens is they see what is at stake today, and they're not really blinking, even though the ball's rolling out, the other team's making plays. They've come from behind in numerous games this year.
High arcing shot doesn't go for Nori Johnson. Here comes Threet.
They've played a lot of games where Sadler missed some games early in the year. Threet, King Davis, some of these guys have missed some games, and they've worked through that. This is for the first time that they're going to have the end of the year where they've got everybody.
Nice look inside, and Baptiste has his first bucket.
Well, you said the right word, look. Jarvis Threet saw that. Baptiste was the recipient of it, but it was a really nice flash.
There's a reach, and a foul will go against Baptiste, the 6'9", 260-pound senior.
It wasn't as bad as it looked, but it was a foul.
Baptiste, the workhorse for the Blue Hens. It's early, 14:47 to go, and right now it's 14-7 Delaware.
They're on pace. I figured out the math. I did a little ciphering like Jethro. They were on pace for 112 points, so I don't think the pace of the game is in Charleston's favor, and I think a lot of that was the excitement of the crowd and senior day and just over-exuberance.
And Judson Hall getting the start and the first bucket of 3. Maybe Coach Wojcik would go back to the bench and let Judson play some more. There's his brother, Hall, and that's an air ball. And here comes Usher.
They're scrapping, but they're scrambling. I think they realize that Delaware is not going to be in danger of kind of sleepwalking into this game. They are coming in here very intent. And the thing that impresses me about their stats right now is they're +4 on the boards, and they have 4 assists. So they're sharing the ball, and they're working the glass.
What I like about this team, too, is their honesty. Of course, 5 in double figures. They have good chemistry, but guys aren't afraid to admit that they'll tell the coach, I'm not getting enough touches. Sadler, the leading scorer, has admitted that.
Yeah, they've got a good chemistry, as you say, Mike. They understand each other, and they care about each other. And a lot of them haven't won championships or won where, Usher didn't win at all when the school he was at prior. And so they're really ready to give to get.
This is Baru, who's got a couple of baseline jumpers already. Canyonberry, the freshman, that's a 3 from the top of the key. You got to like his form.
Yeah, he's been well taught. Rick Barry's son, of course, so you're going to see the free throw shooting and the shooting and all that kind of stuff at a real high technical level.
3 with a crossover and a reaching foul goes against the College of Charleston.
You had to play a little while back, Mike, where Carl Batiste almost got his second foul on the mishandle down there. That would be devastating to them because they're undersized to begin with, and they're playing so well. And the last game, all 5 of these kids played heavy minutes.
A little step back 3 that time by Usher, no problem. He rattles it in. He's got 2 of those with 6.
And what I'm noticing is no celebration. They're not making plays and chilling out and, raising eyebrows and pumping fists. There is no celebration on their part. They know that they've got an afternoon ahead of them. They know they're on the road. They know they got a crowd. They know that the table is set for some things. And you're seeing really good focus and concentration. I saw it in pregame and saw it leading up to the game yesterday.
Well, the series history, the Cougars lead at 2-1. Of course, this is their first year in the CAA, and you go back to that first game, 67-64. But don't forget, they had a 20-point lead with 8 minutes and 52 seconds to go, and they lost the game.
Yeah, that was one of the more interesting games, stat sheets, and films you would ever want to watch. It just didn't make any sense. It was like watching a movie. You couldn't figure out the ending.
Usher from NBA range doesn't go this time. A little bit too strong. Last touched by Hall, and it stays with Delaware.
Well, sometimes they shoot shots, and you wonder if there's a little greed involved. That all of a sudden they made one, or maybe one guy thinks, but they make hard shots. I think they miss more open shots than they miss hard shots. It's just kind of their MO.
Usher, of course, played last year at Mississippi Valley State, averaged over 18 points a game, and talked to Sadler. They're good buddies from their AAU days, both from the Baltimore area, and said, I don't need to score, I just want to win. Well, he's done both. He's been quite the gift for Monte Ross.
Yeah, he's been a gift for Monte and for everybody. Sadler was real critical in his recruitment and just wanted to win, and so did Usher, and so that's how it works, is they had a friendship, because normally you look at it on paper and say, how is this working?
Peru with the left hand, doesn't go, and Usher has yet another rebound.
Nice job defensively. They forced him to his weakness, to his left hand and to his shot that's not his best.
Preet, the point guard, said in high school he was a shooting guard, and he's averaging over 5 assists, 18 points a game, and he said he's not afraid to get in his teammates' face. If they miss an easy shot, he's not afraid to say, hey, if you want the ball, quit missing those shots.
The thing that I think Jarvis is doing a nice job of is at some points in the season, he has been trying to do a little too much given the teammates he has, and I think you saw him give it up, and then Sadler could have shot it, and he creates a pass. And so the 4 assists that I pointed out earlier, they're really playing unselfish. What we've seen is the 50-50 balls. All those balls are going to Delaware. They've turned the tables and watched the film ad nauseum on that first game, and so they're out rebounding them by 7 after the first game, and they're not getting behind. What they did in the first game was get way behind, and all of a sudden it was a problem. And now they're in a situation where they jumped on top of them, and they're getting to all the 50-50 balls. And if you'd have told me they were going to be up 7 on the glass right now, I'd have said you're crazy.
Marvin King Davis, the 6'7" sophomore, gets his first point. He, like Threet, coming off that 8-game suspension. He was playing well, too, Coach, before he went on the 8-game suspension. He hit 10 of his last 16 shots, and then he's got to sit out for 8 games. You brought that up earlier, and Sadler sat out for 7. So you really got to take your hat off to Monte Ross for keeping things together.
Yeah, they really didn't blink. They just figured out a way to get to the next game, and people picked up the slack. But they got players that are hungry to pick up the slack. It's like you need to play more, you need to shoot more. Yeah, I'll do that.
Rashawn, the 7'2" transfer from Tulsa, missed the shot, but Theo Johnson's right there to stick it back in.
Now, that was an interesting possession. Pressure on the full and the half. They handled it. They got down close to the basket, and they got a rebound. There's like 4 good things that happened for Charleston there.
Pinkert misses his first shot. Devon Pinkert, he's 0 for 10 now over his last 4 games.
It'll be interesting if the rhythm of this thing starts suiting Charleston just a little bit more.
Barry can stick it from outside. This time he takes it to the hole.
Real nice couple of trips. They came out of that 12-minute timeout, and they've all of a sudden turned this thing into more of a game. They're kind of over the shock, senior day, over the shock of Delaware coming in, shooting for a championship, and now they're playing basketball.
You look at what Doug Wojcik did at Tulsa, and once he starts building this team to a CAA-type team, I think Barry, he's going to be a prolific scorer for this team.
It's been an adjustment even beyond, I think, Doug's expectations. They come off a good year. They've got a historically really good program. He knows what he's doing, and it's been a tough go. But, he's a really good coach, and he has, really good family tree and background. And they'll get nothing but better as time goes along.
Yeah, Wojcik is 7 years at Tulsa, averaged 20 wins, back-to-back 25-plus wins. Sadler's rejected.
That was quite a block. And the smart thing is it was out of hand. Sadler's, a lot of these kids are real good at drawing fouls these days and flopping and causing contact. No contact and blocked it out of hand clean.
Sadler, a little shake and bacon going on. Baseline drive, left hand doesn't go, and the battle for the rebound finally comes up by the Cougars as Anthony Thomas pulls it in.
The last 2 shots haven't knocked any paint off of that rim on the part of Delaware, and that was just a little bit of overexuberance on the part of Charleston. Now here's the block coming at you. He's up, clean, out of hand, no body contact. That's the way to block a shot. Get up to the vortex of the release point.
So Johnson, the 6'6" sophomore out of Sacramento, comes off the bench, knocks down a bucket, and gets a big rejection.
Too bad coming down. They've had really good defensive and offensive possessions, and all of a sudden they get teased into throwing it into the bleachers.
Charleston with a couple of rejections here so far as Threet goes up with the left hand, doesn't go. Beautiful move, though, and Wishon pulls down the rebound. It's stolen by Threet.
He's very creative.
Usher wide open. Maybe too wide open, Coach.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. They like those pressure jumpers, not the open ones. They like difficulty.
Stitt stops, pulls up, doesn't go.
Now you're starting to see the rebounds start to shift towards Charleston. Their size, the graphic that was up a minute ago about the blocked shots, you see their size and their athleticism, their length, and you've seen 2 offensive putbacks in the last 2 or 3 possessions.
So you see Wishon at 7'2", redshirt sophomore. He's got 2 more years to go. If he develops an offensive game, Coach, at 7'2", he could be a big-time player in this league.
Well, this league right now, and I think nationally, you see a lot of good guards. And in this league, you got multiple guards on each team. And so if you can develop a good big kid, you got a Jarrell Bannerman or somebody who's the reigning MVP in this league, it's a difference maker for you.
Saw Anderson come off the bench. First touch, she knocks down a 2-ball.
We were at practice yesterday. We heard his name said more than anybody because you can't give him just a crack of daylight or that's going to happen.
There's a 7-2 Wishon again. Good ball movement. Barry deep in the corner. Nothing but net. That's another 3.
Matt, we're watching a duel here.
Threet splits the defense, and it's rejected by Wishon, and he keeps it alive.
That's a good no call. The offense created the contact.
Nice look in the corner. Rattles out.
There's the offensive boards.
And the whistle of the foul, so they're going to the stripe. When you look at this team, they've averaged 8 free throw attempts the last 4 games, and Doug Wojcik was saying that earlier this week. That's one thing. You'd mentioned they just can't score. They play good defense, but they don't get to the line enough either.
No, they don't do the things that get you to the line. Attack the basket on the break. That's not their forte. Attack the basket on the drive. They don't take the ball to the rim in the post. Where they might get to the free throw line is what you just watched, is when they get the ball point-blank range, taking it back, and in this case on a rebound follow, which is probably the best thing they'll do in this game in terms of getting to the free throw line is grabbing the ball in a scrum and taking it back strong. You look how tired Sadler appears. He's got this game's at a fairly fast pace, and where it's going to first show is in transition, but secondly on the glass.
Well, if the Cougars can get a stop or a rebound right now, a bucket puts them back in the driver's seat. Inside 8 minutes here in the first half. Sadler, well, you can't leave him open like that, Coach.
Really nice play, the way that they put it together. That was set up to get Sadler going a little bit, and got him open. Just couldn't score.
Baru is fouled, and he's going to the line now. He'll get 2 free throws when we come back. We're inside 8 minutes, so we're going to take a step away from one of our TV timeouts. 22-21. Delaware on top by 1, but
Flurry's been playing very well lately. He had a game last week with 17. But you all of a sudden see him with 8 right now when they've got 21. He's the reason that they're in the game, back in the game. But they're doing other things as a team. It might be senior day, but right now a freshman's leading the way.
Barry, a redshirt freshman, so sat out last year to get a little bit bigger in the weight room, get more acclimated to the academic side, which incidentally carries a 4.0 GPA. So I guess he's acclimated.
Well, I think he's eligible. The red shirt is so beneficial in so many ways. It's just hard to do it anymore with only 13 scholarships, but it really has benefit. They're going to have to make free throws when they get there. But the last 2 times, we made the point about the boards and the follow shots and getting to the free throw line. The last 2 times, it's been fireman's fun flashback from the old days where it was happened again.
Boy, Baptiste took it in with a vengeance that time. Hard to stop him.
It's really hard to really value him because these other guys get so much notoriety, but he's so important to the team. He's really a good player. On some other teams, he would probably be, double-double, doing a lot of scoring, this, that, and the other thing. With this team, he just kind of does what he needs to.
Yeah, he has 8 double-doubles on the season, 4 9-rebound games, so I know Doug Wojcik loves his game.
Well, he's really important to them, and he's really effective in a lot of different ways.
Baru with 5 on the shot clock, gives it up for Johnson deep, hits it, and he's fouled.
Oh, my gosh. Carl Batiste did. Carl Batiste did a wonderful job in the post of just barricading the paint, but what it led to was the quick pop out. There he barricades the paint. Baru can't get in there. Quick release. Kyle tries to close quickly, and the forward motion of the shooter and the forward motion of the defender leads to the banging and a 4-point opportunity.
Johnson at 44% he shoots from long range too, is tops in the CAA right now. There's a whistle, and we're coming back the other way, and Charleston with a 2-point lead now will have possession again. That's a big call right there, because away from the ball, and you got such an important player in Batiste getting his second foul, you look at the 4-point play, which is got to be a momentum play, and then you have Batiste get his second foul. That's another momentum play that have gone against Delaware here. Doug Wojcik last year in the Southern Conference, his first year here, won 24 games. This year they're 14-16, but 12 games decided by less than 7 points, 8 decided by 5 or less. There's a whistle, a travel called against the Cougars, and the ball goes back to Delaware. So my point being, he's not that far off now, getting over that 500 mark. Well, it's right on the money. The point you make, they've been good enough to be close, but not good enough to win. And what you just witnessed in the game right there, all of a sudden they get a call on one end, they've got a chance to capitalize, and they travel when they get the ball in the post to their best player statistically right now. They're clearing the side for Sadler. Last time they got him open, but Anderson hit his last one. Really a nice action. They got Sadler isolated on one side and a marksman coming off the other on a staggered double. So Anderson knocks down to 3. He's got 77 of those now, so he came in only 22 shy of the school record, and he still has a season to go. He was on fire earlier in the year when Sadler was out, but since then he's slowed down. But recently he's had some big games. Baru rolls it in. Nice touch. He's got 7 here in the first half. There's the swings in the game. If you look at their last game, one team just has a flurry, the other team has a flurry. You see Jarvis do a nice job getting him raised, but those flurries don't really show the game. But the game was a 3-point game, and so I think right now what you're seeing in this game is we've got basically a knotted game, and Charleston came to play today, and so did Delaware, and the treat is for the people watching. Coach, we mentioned Threet coming back and scoring 24 in his last game. 7 of 10 from the floor after an 8-game suspension, but 9 of 20 from the line. He could have had a memorable game if he hit some free throws last game. He really could. It's not his forte, but he's going to have to make them late in games in particular. But what jumps out at me early on is he has 7 assists right now with no turnovers. And them being in the game right now is his ability to organize the court, bring some order to it, get the ball to the right guys. And a lot of people have been able to do that, but they haven't boarded the ball. And then you've got Canyon, Barry, and Baru, the B&B. Hall pulls the trigger from outside, and he's going to be shooting 3 as he was fouled in 3-point territory. Well, as we look at this replay, you see the draw kick, we see the turned back, and then he finishes, and he does hit him on the elbow. And when you coach, you say don't break the glass, which means you put your hand up to change the shot, but if you come down and imagine putting your hand through glass, that's when you get those foul calls, as you come to the ball and hit the arm. 77% shooter from the stripe, but he too only gets about 2 attempts a game, and he'll get 3 this time. He's too good a shooter to not make a good percentage. He got a nice motion. If you watch a little bit technically, he gets up on his toes a little too high too early, but he's got a nice motion. He's got 4 in the game, all from the stripe, and we are deadlocked at 29 again. Gotta love the action. Here's the same action again. Sadler isolated one side. Anderson coming off again. They came up tight on Anderson. They weren't going to let him get a shot that time. Usher pulls the trigger. He has the only 40-point game this year in the CAA. And here comes Hall. Numbers rejected, but there's a foul. And Usher said, no. I got all ball, Coach, all ball. Well, sometimes officials are in full retreat, and so the angle on it, if you watch here, the official is really retreating. So the angle, one of the things that I've always said is that one of the really hard calls is when the official is retreating and chasing into the play. And so it's hard to see how much contact there is there. But, when you get a breakaway like that,
Sometimes it blows, sometimes it doesn't.
Canyon Barry shooting the free throws like his dad Rick did back in his professional days. With the diaper shot, his dad was a 90% or thereabouts shooter after 14 years, so you can't argue with that.
No, I don't know why more kids don't shoot that
Wow. Are we watching a volleyball game?
Wow, Peru.
That looked like
time rejection.
That looked like a gold medal play for the U.S. volleyball team. Actually, it would be the Ivory Coast volleyball team, Peru.
What were you saying yesterday? Coming from the Ivory Coast, spoke French, didn't speak English, winds up with a 3.54 GPA, and he was one of the top recruited players out of Virginia back in his day, right?
He really was, and I had a kid from the Ivory Coast, and they speak French, and it's kind of interesting to deal with them, but they really value education. A lot of the international kids are just so appreciative. In this age of entitlement, these guys come here and they do really get an education out of this, and not just in the classroom, culturally as well.
Three cuts through the defense with another crossover, doesn't go. Took it into the land of the Giants, and here comes Charleston now, up by 2 with a chance to build on that lead, and there's a bump and a foul on Devon Sadler, the 6'2 junior.
Well, they're pressing the action, causing some of these fouls. They're stepping in to some of these fouls on the drive and stepping into those three-pointers and stepping into the glass. But they're doing a really nice job on the other end of not fouling. Delaware's pretty good at drawing fouls, and they've blocked, a handful of shots above their bodies.
Double figures already for Barry. I liked what he said about his free throw shooting. He goes to Louisville, the defending national champion, his first collegiate game. He goes 0 for 4. And a lot of fans, when they see that, they say, am I seeing that right? Then they realize that Rick Barry's son, he goes 1 for 7 in his first 2 games. Then the next 2 games, he goes 9 for 10. So he found his groove.
He'll make a lot of them. And what you just saw there is why Rick Barry would argue that that's the best way to shoot. You see how the ball rolled in softly. In his opinion, the ball lands more softly than in the overhand action.
That's a good point. You don't get those long rebounds either. Well, the Cougars going for yet another rejection, but this time the whistle blows, and they're charged with the foul.
Well, at some point, you block about 5, 6, 7 of them with no whistle. I think just out of habit, somebody's going to think there was a foul. But, all of a sudden you come in and you've got a guy that's a candidate for Player of the Year, and there wasn't any contact until after, but there was the body contact. And I think a lot of that is as a result of respect for Sadler and the fact that they have gotten the benefit of the doubt over and over and over on the block shots.
So Sadler goes to the line, a 70% shooter. And you'd mentioned he's averaging 20 points a game. Well, when Threet was on that 8-game suspension, Sadler took over the point and averaged 6 assists.
Well, they've got a lot of guys that can play with guard skills and can play the point in theory, but a lot of them are such prolific scorers. Jarvis Threet's a prolific scorer. Now, there's a block shot and the rebound, so, Delaware's got to remember they didn't get called for a foul on that, but that rebound is exactly what Charleston wants to have happen.
Sadler behind the screen rattles in another 3, so Sadler now with 11.
Devon looks over here after he makes that. He knows we know that they're seeking something here, and that's not coming easy. It is not coming easy at all.
So Sadler in double figures in 62 of his 64 games played with Delaware.
I've really been impressed visiting with him, watching him, being around him. He's a hard practice kid. He just wants all the right stuff. He's really changed the program. I know I overheard you and Monte visiting yesterday about what he's meant to that program.
He said he's the reason. They've been getting better and better. 18, 19, now 21 wins.
Been a steady climb the last 4 years, and he's been the heartbeat of it all. He's set the tone on the court, practice, as they prepare for games, as they win and lose, and as they weather season. Down them by 7. Since that time, there's been a 9-rebound swing. They've gone from +7 to -2 on the glass. Delaware has, so a real resurgence on the glass by Charleston.
And Charleston leading the league at 5, almost 6, 5.9 to be exact, and Delaware coming in at -2.
Yeah, you're looking at a differential that approaches double digits, and that's just the stats. That's not how the two teams match up in reality, because last time that was 20.
There's the whistle, and Washawn thought he had all ball, but he is charged with the foul. And Marvin King-Davis, the 6'7 sophomore, will be going to the line. He's a 68% shooter.
Here's what I think is almost comical. He doesn't even have to jump to block this. I mean, he's really standing on the floor when he blocks it. And, you know, he bumps the contact. And what you teach big kids like that is to get a real wide base and stay down and stay on the floor because they are so tall. They don't have to jump all the time. And yet they go for the eyebrow fakes and get caught in the air, get out of kilter and get a foul. He'll learn.
Well, hopefully he learns a nice little hook shot at 2 or 3 feet from the basket. As we see Monte Ross going to the bench now. Devon Pinkard back on, the 6'6 freshman out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Here's the second time that they've had the pressure. And yesterday they were working hard on handling this pressure. And you're seeing long passes, advancing passes. And you're not seeing traps being set. So they've handled it pretty well. Now this is just some false motion. You're going to see some shooters opposite posts here. And they get into the paint.
Knocked out of bounds. Still 11 seconds on the shot clock for the Cougars.
Delaware says we can block shots too. Now that was so unnecessary that he put that all the way over there. In the old days, a guy like Bill Russell would have grabbed that out of the air and had it been a fast break.
Delaware actually in conference play, they're number 2 in the league with just over 4 blocks a game. Barry, a little runner on the baseline. Beautiful touch.
That was one of them horse shots you shoot where you're out there trying to get O on your dad, R on your dad, S on your dad. That's where Jarvis Street is really good. He comes down and he creates an awkward position for the defense, and then all of a sudden the whistle blows, and the defense doesn't think they did much, but they fouled him.
You know, Coach, I know Barry in the second game of the season against Charlotte had 26. First 5 games averaged 15, but he's more aggressive with the rock than I thought he would be. I expected him to be more of a spot-up shooter.
Well, what happened when he hurt his hand, but it was his shooting hand. And a guy like him who really probably relies on his offense to get his home. You know, some guys get their games going, a lot of guys with offense. For him, his persona, his ambiance, his countenance out there, swagger, if you will, a lot of it revolves around what he does offensively. So he was really hamstrung, and then he's not experienced enough to just cling to that swagger. So you're seeing a return gradually here.
You saw Monte Ross going back to the bench. Barnett Harris, another 6'9 freshman, getting some minutes. He only averages about 3 minutes a game, getting some first half action. Little backdoor alley-oop doesn't go.
Well, that was interesting. He was ready and he was loaded. He was crouched on the other side. He wasn't just standing there watching. So that was a legit, attempt. I'd like to think that that's a play he can make where it's a 3-point play. But this is a press breaker where they were going to make Delaware pay for pressing and, almost to finish. Now, I think that the block shots that you referred to earlier, a lot of that is Delaware's athleticism, not its overall length and size, as much as the timing of certain guys flying in and blocking shots. Now, one of the things to look at here is the turnovers by Charleston. We've got them officially, and I believe it unofficially or whatever, for about 6. Now, look at 26 turnovers last game and a 37-37 score. There's a lot of things that have gone back and forth in the game, but Delaware has not turned them over in full court pressure or in their leads into action too much.
Deshaun hits both of them. He's got 4. And the Cougars have the lead again at 38-37. As far as taking care of the basketball, though, you got a team, Delaware, 5 averaging in double figures. And more times than not, that they're in single digits with turnovers. They average about 8.
The CAA is a guard-driven league right now, and you've got Drexel, for instance, is the national leader in the fewest turnovers per game. So you've got a number of teams that really take care of the ball.
Sadler hits the side of the backboard, and the Cougars want to run, but they back it out as Theo Johnson gives it up wisely.
He had 4 teammates out on the court, his coach, and everybody going, whoa! As you said, he's been aggressive, but he's got to pick his spots. You were the one talking about that jump hook.
There it goes.
You called it. Took him a while. He had to kind of delve around, but he found his jump hook, and he went to his right-hand jump hook.
Well, when you're 7'2", sometimes you have the luxury of delving around a little bit.
Well, they're not in a position where they're going to double him. You've seen some really hard shots made. Canyon Berry's drive and the flying shot on the baseline, and then that left-hander, those are all tilted, kind of whirling dervish kind of moves.
71 seconds to go before we head a redshirt junior next year.
Well, you look at him and Canyon Berry both having redshirt years. They do have a change into the guard with some of these guys, but with Baru back and whatnot, Norrie Johnson, they've got a nucleus going forward that will be competitive. And there's a lot of kids in the league that are graduating. There's quite a bit of experience that's moving on. Now there's a trap.
And a near turnover.
And they're going to trap him again. Oh.
Knocked out of bounds by Delaware. They're going to be charged with the foul, however. And it's going to go against number 22. That's Casman Hayes, the freshman out of Charlotte.
Well, you got to give Canyon Berry credit. I think he was over-dribbling when he got into the first trap. Didn't quite get his head up. But his response to pressure is to put it out, down, and go. And he's caused a couple fouls. So he's got out of trouble by attacking. But I think that when they've been at their best, they've looked beyond the traps and passed the ball, too.
Now, we mentioned that Berry started 1 for 7 shooting those free throws when the season started with the redshirt freshman. He's at 73. I think in a couple of years he's going to be close to 88, 89.
He'll be one of those guys that people will be talking about, just like his dad was. And you've seen the last 2 free throws roll in. The last one easily could have rolled out if it hadn't come up so soft. But we jinxed him like usual.
Never fails, does it?
Always reluctant to say something. You should say there's no way he's going to make these, and then they make them both.
Final 45 seconds here in the first 20 minutes in Charleston. Cougars on top 42-39 against the number 1 team in the CAA.
And they're on schedule for a high-scoring game, which would have been a shocker to a lot of people who have followed Charleston this year.
Treat takes it up against the 7-2 center, and it's rejected.
A lot of time. Let's see what they do. A lot of time. Let's see what they do.
Knocked out of bounds with 22.6 remaining before the half, and Doug Wojcik wants to talk things over.
That worked out perfect for Doug. Three could have got to the line. They barricade him. They do a nice job. As I said earlier, he stayed on the floor and didn't get airborne and at a bad angle. And so they get the ball. They just want to run off the court, chance to tip it in. You'd like to shoot the ball under 10, so you're counting it 6, 7, up in there, and you got a chance to rebound it with 5, 4, 3, and then the half's over. Now, Berry has had the best first half, so they're putting the ball in his hands. They're coming to an on ball. They're going to probably have a switch. No way they get off of it.
5 on the clock. Johnson pulls the trigger, rings a bell.
Now, the reason that I said shoot it with 5, 6, 4 is the end of the first half, the clock doesn't stop on the make, so you're not giving the other team anything.
And as we look at the last play here, they did a nice job of understanding the clock. They didn't shoot the first bad one. They let one fly. They had a chance to rebound it. There's 2 seconds to go. Clock runs off. Out the vomitory they run. Right now, this game's on pace to be 90, 80 points, which you would have told me would have really weighed in Delaware's favor. But with 29 points off the bench and making a push on the glass, maybe it's okay for Charleston.
Well, they came and they were ready to play on senior day. Here we go, the final 20 minutes of the regular season in 2014. And they head up to Baltimore for the CAA tournament next week.
Well, that thing sets up good. There's some teams playing well. There's some young players. Trayvon Allen at Drexel, young player really coming along. You see Canyon Berry here. And then you've got veteran guys that are healthy and playing good.
Boy, Johnny on the spot is Anthony Thomas as it went off the leg of Hall.
Would that be counted as a rebound? Close. A low one.
How about a 50-50 ball?
A 50-50 ball. Somehow they got
60-40.
Yeah.
Baptiste only had 4 shots in the first half. He gets his first and 1.
That was an important play. You get the popcorn ball on the floor at the other end that goes in, and all of a sudden, what a good finish. You see how he gets up off the floor, takes the contact, still finds his target, has a little bit of mojo on the ball and it rolls in, but at this time, they don't want to get too far behind. Something to watch for us as we go along here is the turnover count for Charleston right now is at 6. The rebound margin is at just 2 or 3, less than a handful. What happens with those 2 categories as the game goes forward?
Rashawn averaging 12 minutes a game back on the floor again for the College of Charleston.
Now this is more what Charleston wants to do, is have the Delaware stand and play defense. Then they need better results. Now, I've seen this happen over and over with Delaware. They get somebody in an up-and-down game, and eventually it goes to their liking at the end of the action.
Wow, he kind of willed that one in, Coach.
Who says you have to see the basket to score?
Off balance, kind of pushed it up there. He's in double figures with 10 now.
Well, our keys to the game, which we'll revisit here later, I'm sure, is the pace of play. Is to Delaware's liking, but the grind-em action that Charleston wanted hasn't really. When they've been more aggressive, they've been better. So it's been a little bit of a misnomer. The boards and the turnovers and playing like champions, it's all up for grabs as we go forward.
Well, give and go with Stitt in the lane. He stops and out of control. Their offensive rebound by the Cougars and a brand new 35-second clock. And I guess it didn't touch the rim. I guess it's a violation.
I almost want to apologize myself. I thought that was a shot, and everybody in the place, there was a couple of guys, a couple of fans on the front row jumping up, and I thought, well, that was a nice play, but I'm not sure how you got so excited. What they were excited about is the fact they didn't realize the shot clock was going to violate.
47-44. Charleston trying to avoid a three-game skid. There's the scoring leaders now, Sadler and Berry.
Well, if you would have said we'd be this far into the game and Berry would be outscoring Sadler, you'd say Charleston was in pretty good shape, and they are. Not in great shape. You know, the best players, and there's some dandies in the pros that just get you eyebrow lifted. They just show you their eyeballs and you jump in the air. And Jarvis has done it 2 or 3 times today, where he's got guys that just get a little bit over anxious because they think they're doing a good job, and then the last part of that is blocking that shot and have the fans go crazy. And you've got to have discipline to stay down.
It's like an innate ability, huh? A gift. As Threet goes to the line. Didn't shoot the ball well in the first half, but as you pointed out, he was 1 for 5 from the floor, but 8 assists, no turnovers in that first half for this young man.
I think smaller players in the assist count here, he had 6 or 7 early, and I think he's going to have to get more. They have had, their shot selection has either been good or bad, nothing in between. And I think Delaware needs to get more good shots. His assists represent the good decisions they've made.
Ooh.
That was the no-look catch, not the no-look pass.
Good reaction. Coming off the screen. And they kick it back out to run the offense again. Rashawn gives it up in the corner. Berry open. Too strong. Nice position.
Now that was textbook for them. They ground it side to side 3 times. They got a post touch, didn't shoot it, interior pass, 3-pointer, put back. You know, all the trappings of a successful possession for Charleston.
Usher, top of the key. Doesn't go, and it's pulled down by Johnson.
Real nice contest by Berry. Didn't break the glass, didn't foul him, made it hard.
Hall puts his head down and takes off the whistle, and we're coming back the other way.
When you're a big player, they call the travel or illegal screen.
I didn't see the travel call.
I think they called the illegal screen, and what happened when you're a big player? Yeah, when you're a big player, David Wishon had the foul. When you're a big player, you have to be really meticulous because you stick out in the crowd. They see when you're not at a good angle. They see when you're not set. A little more so than a smaller player. They see travels more readily. You have advantages being big, but there's disadvantages sometimes.
Anderson thought about it, then he took it anyway. Probably should have gave it some second thought.
That's what I was talking about earlier, is they get a lot of good shots, and then they had a lot of in-between shots.
Stitt's the open man. 14 gives it back to Stitt, and Stitt knocks it down.
Now notice 5, 6, 7 passes, and lots of guys that could have shot the ball that didn't, and then they end up getting a shot that not only is more makeable, but more of an opportunity to rebound it because they know the shot's going to be taken.
And I apologize, Coach. I said Stitt, but it was Hall. Stitt gave it up, and Hall knocked down the shot.
Yeah, Stitt had the dime. That's his job. Hall had the score. That's his job.
Stitt came in only 9 assists shy of his second straight 100-assist season. Hall comes back with an air ball.
A little overzealous. You got a little feel-good going on, and you want more of it.
High off the window. Baptiste is there to do the heavy work.
Really nice play. That's a little bit of turnabout spare play because that's what Charleston's been doing to Delaware. But Carl is a real warrior. He's been really important to this program. Not as heralded as some of the other kids, but he's really been a good attribute for these guys over time.
Barry's thinking about it. Gives it up to Stitt. Rashawn lost the rock.
That was because of Carl Batiste.
Sadler all alone. And Devon Sadler now with 14.
He just put him in jail.
Sadler, two-time conference player of the week. Actually, 3 of those in this ballgame, Coach. And right now, Delaware crawling back in down by 1.
Today, their regression has paid off.
I know Doug Wojcik sounded a little frustrated last night, saying that this team will play defense. They just can't score the basketball. But I'm impressed with this Charleston team right now with the lead.
Yeah, they have been able to score. I mean, if you'd have told Doug that they'd have had 45 points at halftime, that's like the end of the game score.
Averaging 61 on the year.
Yeah, now better job on his part of passing the ball without dribbling, because they're going to come and take it from him.
Well, hop, skip, and a jump inside to the big. Gathers rejected. Baptiste just rejected the 7-2 center. Rashawn said, not this time. But he shoots the air ball. Stitz.
Be aware of the shot clock. Be aware of the shot clock.
4 on the shot clock.
Be aware of the shot clock.
Usher finally brings it down for Delaware.
Well, they got about 5 almost shots, and then they got a bad one. But at least they got a shot this time.
Coach, we're talking about that tournament coming up in Baltimore next week. 68 games were played coming into this weekend in the CAA. 34 are exactly half, and they're decided by 7 points or less or overtime. I mean, that's some pretty good parity.
Well, it really is. I think it's frustrating for some teams that have lost some games and some other teams that maybe had an inflated opinion of how good they are with some close wins, but when it's all said and done, they're all pretty comparable. And I think the middle of the pack teams are making a push, and some of the upper teams that have had good seasons are still playing good. With John and with Bobby Cremens before, really good friends that both still live here in the area. John's still teaching here at the school. And, that team was an impressive-looking bunch of guys. And when you make that transition to Division I and then do that, that's quite a step. Most teams that step up, struggle for years. And I was joking with John. I says, when I was younger in the West, I'd see, and I'd says they'd put the number of wins you had up there before the season started, because it seemed like every year I'd see they won 23, 24, 25. It was just amazing what John did here. Got a lot of history here, a lot of good players in the region and around.
Yeah, the 94 team finished the regular season with a 16-game winning streak, and Baptiste hits both free throws, so he has 11 points as he starts to flirt with yet another double-double.
Well, you always come into these games with a different role. Me and you get to sit here and watch it and tell people about it, but this is an entertaining game just to watch.
It certainly is. It's been fun. After the postseason tournament, you have the big dance, March Madness, and the Colonial Athletic Association. 4 years in a row, the CAA's had a team win the first round game, 6 of the last 8, so that might be a good argument to put two teams in. Barry, top of the key. Did he call it? Did he call it?
Call bank. Call bank. Call the bank.
17.
That's when you're having a game, when you start banking them in.
With 4 on the shot clock.
And his dad taught him well. Don't smile. Don't act like it was not planned.
Act like you've done it before, right?
Exactly.
Cougars doing a good job keeping 3 out of that lane. He throws it away. A rare turnover by Jarvis 3.
He's really taken care of the ball today, and I think that was 3 gets the turnover, but Sadler, wasn't moving kind of work with him, and if he wants to get shots, he has to do the extra work.
Coach, I'm not just saying that about Barry because he's Rick Barry's son, but I love his form. That elbow tucked in. He's got beautiful form on his jump shot.
He really does. Nice ball movement, but you see Treat with the steal. Ooh.
And he's going to the line. He wanted to silence this crowd with a flush, but he'll get 2 free throws done the same.
You saw something very unique there in that a guy has a mixture of anticipation and length to get the steal, and then he comes down and has the rise to take it up over a 6'5" dude and try to throw it down. And, all of a sudden, you start seeing how special he is physically. And, that's kind of the temperament of this Delaware team, is what they can do individually with their physical and basketball ability.
I liked what Monte Ross said to us yesterday. I said, when you got that first loss on February 17th, was it good to get that one out of the way? And he said, no, I would have preferred one at the table.
Yeah, when I was listening to that, when we were visiting, I think it's different when you start a streak in league and you're on a streak for the whole year like Wichita State is. I think it adds up differently. I think like Florida's on a 20-game winning streak right now, but they're not undefeated on the season. It's a little bit less pressure.
Cougars, chance to break the tie again. Deadlocked at 54. Berry lines up a three and knocks it down.
Boy, we are witnessing a nice contest by him.
Three takes it in. He's fouled. He's going back to the line, and two bodies go to the floor, but nothing egregious, nothing intentional there. They just locked up.
That was just a tangle foot deal. I mean, they just got, they were wearing each other's tennis shoes for a second and fell down. Now, as you look at what Jarvis has done the last 3 times, one was a turnover, but he can really get by guys. See the guys get tangled up a little bit. There was no harm, no action there. But he's good at getting to the line, and he's virtually impossible to stay in front of. And it's like a lot of things with their team. It's a mixture of what he should and shouldn't do. When the other guys are scoring and they have balance, they're at their best.
The big guy with Sean goes out with 4 fouls now. It's still 12:29 to go in the game. 3. We mentioned him getting to the line often. We mentioned he was only 9 of 20 in the last game from the stripe, but he's 9 of 10 right now. 11 points, 9 assists, so he's flirting with a double-double as well.
Well, one of the things Charleston doesn't have is a number of players that are equipped to stay in front of it. Some teams have a few more players that can get up there and do that.
A little shy. You know how you look at statistics, how they can really be deceiving sometimes, but Doug Wojcik's saying we don't score enough, and which is true, 61 points a game. But in conference play, I was in the hotel last night looking at the statistics. They average 7 threes a game in conference play, and that's number 3 in the league.
Well, they're methodical, but they still are shooting the ball from out. And the one game, Norrie Johnson against William and Mary, they had probably their best game of the year. And Norrie Johnson and Canyon Berry combined for 7 made threes between just the two of them.
Baptiste, hard to stop that. 13 points now.
Boy, that was textbook power basketball. He just bulldogged his way right down to the basket. One of the things that happens is you can't really go double him because they have so many other scorers.
Berry looks inside. Beautiful look inside. The rule with the slam and one.
Berry's aggression, and earlier I talked about it in some traps, and occasionally he's been vulnerable, but his aggression has been a big difference in the game.
Ajay Baru with a chance for the three-point play when we come back. He's got 9. He's going to the line, and it's 59-57.
Standing toe-to-toe and handling this performance by Berry, performance by the bench, and performance by the Cougars of Charleston.
Baru missed his chance for double figures.
I think Baru doesn't want to play Berry in free throw contest.
Although to his credit, he's gone from 51 to 64 from the line this year. Look at Baptiste.
Oh, boy. He must have known we were doing the highlight tape on him because we jinxed him. But anyway, they did a really nice job. Well conceived play, got him a touch at the block, and it's one of the few times he hasn't converted.
Another good look inside. Missed the shot.
Tough luck. 2 point-blank looks at each end. And, guys are, slapping and clapping after him, going to missed opportunity.
Breach slices through the defense, and the big man Baptiste is there for the stick back. He's got 15.
Yeah, he's really made a surge in this game. I mean, he's been steady all year. But when you play a team that has good bigs, you got to have good big play.
Another steal by Threet.
He does that so naturally. It's not out of character at all.
Good movement. Anderson. There's an air ball, but Sadler is Johnny on the spot that time for the bucket.
That was almost a good pass. What Sadler did a good job is following the trajectory. Sometimes kids run to the rim and watch it ricochet. He followed the flat of the ball and realized it was coming down quite a bit short. And that's a rare putback by somebody other than Batiste or one of the big kids that subs in.
Berry slices through the defense, and he's fouled, so Berry will go back to the line to shoot some free throws. And very aggressive with the rock in his hand here this afternoon.
What you notice here is his first step quickness is probably not going to exploit somebody like Treat, but he plays on the move. So when he's moving and then makes a move, it gives him more speed, more agility, more ability to get by somebody, find a crease. And he's getting contact, he's getting to the basket, but he's creating a situation where Delaware gets on its heels. Now their team is to 10 turnovers. So contrasting that with 26 last time, he's a big reason with his aggression. And, occasionally, the best players in the league are going to have more turnovers than the other ones. They're going to make some mistakes. But he's been really good today.
Yeah, the fifth son of Rick Barry to play Division I basketball has 22 points, and we still have 9:51 to go. Anderson, boy, pulls the trigger with beautiful arc on the shot.
What I find interesting is he had an air ball from the left corner that wasn't even close. I mean, it was just a hang time punt, and all of a sudden he catches it and doesn't even flinch. He's ready to let it fly again.
That's 2 in the ball game now, and 78 for Anderson on the season. The school record in a single season is only 86, and depending on how deep this team goes into the postseason, he could set that record this year.
Well, Barry causes that third foul on Batiste, and those on-ball screens are allowing Barry to be creative. As I pointed out last possession, he's just not going to stand first step and just blow by everybody. Not that he couldn't get by guys, but he's being added to with those on-ball screens, which is common with a lot of guards, a lot of ball handlers. But, he exploited Batiste, and now you see Batiste heading to the bench.
And Baru comes back in for the College of Charleston now with 9:25 to go. Trailing by 3.
Here's Brew with the block. We showed some highlights at halftime that he was pretty methodical and got it done.
He'll step back, nothing but men. Willis Hall. And he says his game has no finesse, but there was a little finesse on that shot.
He's a pretty well-rounded player. I mean, I think a lot of guys look at his rebounding and they see him post up down there on mismatches, but he does a lot of different things.
Last week, averaging almost 16 points, 9.5 rebounds a game. Anytime you can average almost a double-double, that's pretty impressive. Anderson again gives it up. Usher. He's been relatively quiet considering what he usually does.
Yeah, he really has. I think a lot of that's Street being real aggressive.
There you see 6 of 18, 8 of 17 for the Cougars right now. Usher. Wow, what a beautiful shot.
Well, what you're experiencing right now is we are almost to the finish point of their first game. 64-67 was the first game. We're almost at that identical point with 8 minutes to go. But the pace really favors Delaware. Is Charleston going to be able to stick with it? A lot of it's in the hands of number 24, Barry.
Outside shot. Rattles it in for Stitt.
They answered. 67-66. They're all looking up at the scoreboard, kind of remembering the last game, and now what's going to happen this game.
Stitt first shot that went in so far, and it's a big 3. Sadler brings it right back down. I thought he was going to have a chance for a 3-point play there.
It was close. One of the things I noticed with Delaware is they've come from behind so much, and they're used to, it's almost like when you play noon ball, when all of a sudden you kind of go, well, I got to win by 2, and the game lasts forever. They're used to playing in these kind of games where it lasts forever. Now, do you think the guys at Towson aren't watching this game close?
You think?
They might not even go out and warm up to watch the end of this game.
So Sadler knocks one down from the line. He's got 17. He's not only the active leading scorer in the CAA, but he's also 3rd in the country in that department.
Well, you look at Doug McDermott and Travis Bader. I mean, you look at the careers they've had, and he's in that category. It's really something.
And you talked about this in the first half, and I thought it was interesting that Monte Ross said he is the reason that you want to build a program, not a team. And he's done that with 18, 19, now 21 wins. And he said Sadler's the reason.
Well, you don't know how special kids are until you have them. You think they can be good. But all of a sudden, when they have these intangible qualities, they raise they float your boat higher. and they raise the level of your whole program, and that's what he's done for these guys. Now, Charleston's been able to hang with the pace of this play. I mean, there's a book that was written, How to Lie with Statistics, and so we keep talking about these stats, but they've made 9 3-pointers in this game. And so they've really been able to hang in a game that's been probably faster paced than to their normal liking or to the normal scoring load they're used to.
4 on the clock. Little step back 3. Oh, he's got it. Norrie Johnson is in double figures, and that is a huge 3.
That's the 10th one. And if you'd have told me they were going to get to 10 threes ahead of Delaware, I'd have said, well, there's something going on here. And there is something going on here.
Something going on with Baptiste in the lane, too.
But that's where I say that the comment before when we were talking about win by 1, win by 2, win by, the noon ball game that goes on forever. Delaware just keeps playing. They're used to. They're an experienced team. They're just used to being behind. They're used to being in close games. They're used to being in meaningful games. They've been fighting for first place in the standings for months. You're going to have to beat them. They're not going to just let you take it.
Berry off the dribble, rejected by Baptiste, and here come the Blue Hens with their running shoes on, and Usher takes it the distance.
There's a pace play right there. You got to go into the hole, no whistle, no bucket, no shot. And, Berry's aggression has been super. But if you're going to be aggressive, sometimes it doesn't work out. Drew with the block.
And the shot.
Ooh, Rattler.
Thought he had it, popped out.
We're starting to get into that range where you're going down the stretch, and you've got a team that's won a lot of close games, and you've got a team that's had a hard time, close games, overtimes, whatnot, having leads that they've lost. So we'll be interested to see if Charleston can finish this out.
Anderson with another catch and shoot. He's in double figures with his third 3. 79 now on the season, and that pushes his team up by 4, 74-70.
The body language going to this timeout open early in the year. Of course, they didn't have Sadler. I was tracking him, and it was unbelievable. But he was nationally ranked in three-point shooting percentage, and it wasn't just on 2 attempts a game. He was shooting 7, 8, 9, 10 three-pointers a game and shooting that percentage. And he's that kind of shooter. But I think you get into the league, guys know him better. And they play him 1 time, 2 times. They played him last year, and so they slowed him down a little bit. And then, of course, his teammates slowed him down a little bit because they're scoring too.
Stitt off the dribble, tries to get up to Baru. Last touch by Delaware, so it stays on this end with 20 seconds on the shot clock.
That's a good idea. They got him in the half court, so they can grind him, but they still need to make plays earlier in the clock. They can't rely on the last second Norrie Johnson 3 like they had a minute to go. That's going to happen some, but they can't do it every possession. Now they're getting into a late clock. They're going to be under 10 with a double on-ball screen here.
Stitt, another step back.
Ooh.
Nothing but net.
Nice play. Now that is exactly what Coach Wojcik wants. They could score fast. They could do this, that, and the other thing, but to get Delaware to guard and then have to go to the end of the clock and score really with a lot of composure. That's what you need.
Doug Wojcik has lost some tight ones. Said they've had their heart ripped out this year. Now they're down by 2 with 4:40 to go, and this one goes against Threes.
Now, we had this play in another game I did, and you've got the player come up really tight on a guy, and they get body tight. And this replay, and I don't want to get too controversial here, but he clearly has the ball. Threet gets up body tight and then flops as if he got hit. And that's the fact check. That's the way I see it. They shouldn't let kids get up that tight, and because you're going to have these elbows thrown where you're going to have flops, and eventually you're going to have somebody get hit legit. So I always say call the first one. In this case, I think Sean Cassidy, I believe, is the one that comes in and calls this, and he comes in tight. The contact is called because he comes in tight. The guy's not trying to throw a flying elbow. But you've got to be careful. They're reviewing it now to see whether it was an elbow that was flagrant in nature.
It was inadvertent, but he did hit him above the shoulders.
He did, and that's where I argue. The letter of the law says that the officials have if he's hit above the shoulders, they got to call it. And yet this was caused because Threet came in body tight on a guy that had the ball. So it's one of those deals where I think the officials are put in a very tough spot. The rule book says one thing. typically, my argument as a coach is call the first one. If he doesn't get body tight, we don't have the circumstance.
Well, Tim Comer, Sean Cassidy, Earl Robinson wearing the striped shirts, blowing the whistles, making that call. And we'll see if they come over to the broadcast table to...
They typically would try to explain to us what's going on. The thing that I would think they interpreted is, here's my hunch.
There's another look at it, and they are coming over to explain.
The guy's forearm. It was a basketball play. He did not throw an elbow.
Did not throw the elbow. It was
Good
a basketball play.
Good call. In my opinion, it was an inadvertent contact above the shoulders. And you don't want to this time of year have players missing tournaments and, guys missing critical junctures in games and things of that nature. It wasn't malicious, and that's the intent of the rule, I think, is that somebody, gets hurt.
Barry with 22, but he's been quiet the last couple of minutes. His team trails by 2.
Well, they put Sadler on him, and he's kind of put the clamps down. They've mixed up things, but somebody's got to stay in front of him. Just like that. If you stay in front of him, you might cause a miscue.
Usher again with the sweeping reverse.
That looked like a triple jump, man.
Well, Coach,
he took off at midcourt and shot on the other side of the basket. That was creative.
Seems like 30 seconds ago I said kind of quiet compared to what he usually does. Just like that, and I looked down, he has 16.
He does that. I think that happens. I mean, he all of a sudden gets his putbacks and the drives and the full courts and then a 3 and a free throw, and it adds up fast with him.
Baru with the left hand doesn't go, and 3 the point guard and rips down the rebound.
Baru's had tough luck. The last 2 post moves, jump shot, both of them, this game would be knotted at 76 if he was able to get him in the hole.
Sadler tries to slice through. He does, and he scores.
I think what you're seeing is some experience. He took contact and scored. I think you see the creative play. We got the timeout here. You see the creative play that Usher made. These guys could have had travels, fouls, misses, and they got points.
Well, just like that now, the Blue Hens, the league leaders, starting to build some steam. 3:14 to go. They built a 6-point lead, 78-72. So Sadler.
The turnover comparison is popping up here, and you see that Charleston has turned it over only 11, but the other team has 6, so they're +5 in that category. And Delaware has gotten some second chance points. And so, off of some turnovers and whatnot, they've made some things happen. So, there's no secret why they're at this point in the game.
That's going to be a goaltender. It should be. They hit the rim.
I was of the opinion that he was above the rim. I don't know if he released the ball when he got hit. That one was peculiar.
The opposing player hit the rim, though. He touched the iron. And several fans inside the arena are saying goaltend. The officials don't see it that way. We're going to step away now. They lost to Drexel 56-45 in a game that was tied with 5 minutes to go. 3:07 to go. They're down 6. What needs to happen for Doug Wojcik down the final 3:07?
They've done so many good things, but this game is very representative of the season, as you're pointing out. They've been in these games, had chances. They make 10 3-pointers. They've taken pretty good care of the basketball. They've made a lot of plays. They've scrapped and battled. But they're just playing a team that's a little more experienced. Right now, they just haven't made the plays. They're shooting 38% in the second half. And right now, Delaware is shooting 58% in the second half. They have earned this little bit of a lead. Now what's going to happen down the stretch? We're just a big play back and forth from this thing being knotted up or maybe stretching out just a little bit. Sadler.
It's a 3.
That's why he's the leading scorer in the history of Delaware, and that's why he's 3rd in the nation. They set that up, but T set the screen, 3 made the pass, and he made the shot.
Wow.
You got to love the action, man. They just keep answering. That's their 11th 3-pointer, I believe, and they've just kept battling. I do think the pace of the play has got away from them. I think the experience of a team seeking 5 different guys that have made threes. And so all of a sudden we start talking about Canyon, Barry, and all of a sudden Hall hits one, and then Stitz hit a couple, and then Norrie Johnson hits one at the end of the clock and another one from 26 feet. So they've battled to be right where they're at. But it's getting down to big possession times. The last possession was way too easy defensively for Charleston. Now he's going to screen down for Sadler. The same action they had last time. They slipped it.
19 for Baptiste. A nice look. Put it right where he needed it.
That's just a little triangle action with those three players. The best ball handler on the court, best post player on the court, best individual scorer on the court.
Sadler trying to deny the ball to Berry, who has 24 points. Sadler's charged with the foul. Willis Hall, the 6'6", fifth-year senior, checking back in now for Charleston with 2:14 to go.
Well, I think that's, Sadler started getting physical with him. That's a senior versus a freshman. And he was keeping him from getting stuff. Whistle blows. But they were effectively, kind of clamping down on Canyon a little bit.
Nice arc. Beautiful shot again by Norrie Johnson. He's got 13. And, Coach, first 12 games of the season, he didn't score. He's been averaging about 12 points over the last 3 or 4 games.
Last week he had a game where he made 4. So just like Canyon Berry, he's a young player that's coming alive.
3 takes it to the rack, knocked out of bounds by Baru.
They got way too excited. You cannot attack Jarvis Street at 30 feet thinking you're going to take the ball away from him. You can't stay in between him and the basket at 10 feet, much less 30 feet. Now, these guys, I was going to say a few minutes ago, and I'm almost glad I didn't, that if they got to 12 made threes, when they had 9, I was going to say, hey, they'll probably win this game. They're at 12 threes, and they're still behind. And what a battle they're putting up.
3 misses, $1:50 to go on the clock, 3-point ball game.
You've pointed it out over and over. Tweet gets to the line a lot, and he's got to make him at the end of the game. He's had an incredible game, but it's coming down to the stretch now. 2 missed free throws, 1 possession. Well, Doug's taking it in over there. He's going to let the guys go. They're going to grind it. They got Berry over there and Sadler.
This is Hall, 17 on the shot clock.
All right, Stitt again, late clock. They're giving it to Berry and taking their chances.
7 on the shot clock. Berry puts his shoulder down. It's rejected. Missed opportunity there by the Cougars.
Yeah, that was a corned beef hash possession. That was a little bit of everything all chewed up. They just couldn't quite get anything going.
So now Threet.
Now here's where you can't get too anxious with him or he'll get by you. He's trying to get by.
Sadler off the screen. And Hall rips down the rebound. Inside a minute, 55 seconds to go.
High drama. You got to love the action. You come inside a minute with a 1-basket game. This is why you buy a ticket.
Delaware by 3, looking for the regular season championship and the #1 seed to the CAA tournament.
Okay.
Johnson again off the pick. A little bit shy this time, and Anderson pulls down the rebound.
Well, they got a decision to make now.
There's the foul. Stitt immediately gets Sadler, and Sadler's going to the line, a 70% shooter.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's going to make at least one of these. Jarvis is a really good player, double-double. But down the stretch of some games, at the end of practice yesterday, they stepped to the line, and Monte Ross called this winning time. And they sat there and shot these free throws just like that. And of the kids sitting there that were the most comfortable stepping up there, their teammates watching, all by themselves with the game on the line, you're looking at him right now.
First player in Delaware history, hit 1,000 points, 500 rebounds, 300 assists. He's got 24 points this afternoon, over 2,000, over 2,100 in his career.
Well, I think free throws at the end of the game are more mental than anything. I mean, I've seen guys that had bad form, bad percentages make them, and I've seen guys with great form, good percentages miss them. And I think that one of the things you got to do at the end of the game is get the guy that can make them, and Sadler is the guy that can make them. Jarvis can make them, but not to the same percentage.
That's a great point you bring up. A couple of years ago, I was doing USF when Stan Heath got them into the NCAA in the league. Does Doug Wojcik take anything from this game before the tournament?
I actually think they go into the tournament with feeling good about themselves. And it sounds like an oxymoron that you would lose some games, but to have guys playing well and doing good things, let's see what happens. A little bit of token pressure trying to burn some time.
Stitt fires a 3, rattles out. Baptiste pulls down the rebound, and he's going to be fouled.
Heartbreak Hotel. That was, rattling.
That thing was halfway down.
It really was. And that would have, as we come down, he got a little, Canyon Berry got in deep. kicks it back, and you've got guys that have made threes. You got a lot of guys that have made threes, and that was he just had a little bit of lean when he shot it. But, man of the hour, Batiste, man in the middle. They're not a donut. They got a middle. You got a lot of guys, they got a lot of Krispy Kremes around the crust of this donut, but he's the man in the middle.
And the big guy has a 20-point game with that free throw.
His family drove all the way here from Delaware and a Winnebago. They got a whole bunch of fans with them. Delaware, the tournament's going to travel real well in Baltimore. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to be anxious to see some of these games between some of these teams.
Baptiste, 8 of 11 from the floor. Major reason why they have that 7-point lead right now. Stitt wasting no time to go coast to coast.
Now that's what they needed last time, but if they would have had a mixture that made 3 last time and somebody misses a free throw, who knows? But it's still not out of the realm of possibilities.
Well, the 6'1 junior from Butler High School in Charlotte, scoreless in the first half. With that bucket, he has 10.
There's a lot of kids that have had good games. Now, they've all had some mistakes, but this is a game of mistakes.
It's been an exciting way to close out the 2014 regular season, I'll tell you that.
It really has been. This is one of the more entertaining games. I mean, I've been very fortunate. I'm sure you have this year to see some really good games, and a lot of good games await us in the tournament and beyond. Now, you see what Davon Usher did there running the baseline. Yesterday, they worked real hard on him moving around and making sure that he could create angles to pass the ball in bounds in the event they were fouled.
Well, let's take a look right now. We have a couple of seconds to take a look at the player of the game right now.
Well, right now, you look at what's happening with up in the air. I don't know who Delaware's had to do so much to be in position to win this game.
That play of the game presented by the University of Maryland Medical Center, Medicine on a Mission. Find us at umm.edu. Freed at the line, 11 points. He's got the double-double, points, assists.
There you go, Jarvis. See, now he saw Sadler and drew confidence from him, but he's had a double-double. He's had a good game. He should be relaxed to the line. Sometimes it's a little easier when you're up 2 or 3 possessions.
With this free throw, 13 points, 13 assists. His best game, 23 points, 10 assists against the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame.
This has been one of their best performances start to finish, I think, Delaware. See what happens here. There's still a 2-possession game. If they could knock a 3.
Hall tries the 3. Baru was there, but it's knocked around, goes out of bounds, and they're going to give the ball to the Cougars with 2.5 seconds to go.
Well, start to finish, they've played in flurries this year. You see coaches over there hugging. They're going to be the regular season champions. They came in here and they had to earn this. There was nothing easy about this. And I really think they played one of their best games start to finish in all respects. And they took a really good punch from the team.
Barry knocks down the 3 to close things out, Coach.
13 3-pointers. They just battled all night long. What a tremendous senior day performance. It didn't end with a win and running out the tunnel. But what a performance in Charleston. But all that does is really give you an exclamation point on the fact that Delaware is your regular season champion, and it shows the quality that they are, that they were able to weather that storm, 13 threes, and all the things that happened today on the